What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Cooking with That Guy. So have you ever wondered what it would be like if a company made a protein bar specifically for you? Well, guess what? Today, I'm going to show you how to make your own, and it's going to have a whopping 28.5 grams of protein in it and thermogenic, which burns fat. So what do you think about that? A fat-burning protein bar coming your way. Stay tuned. Let's build together. So you decided to stick around, huh? I'm glad you did. So listen, definitely do this for yourself and me. Subscribe, click like and notification. I got something special that I'm gonna drop on the channel December 1st and you don't wanna miss it. It's gonna be a new workout routine and it's gonna be for the biceps and it's gonna be an awesome one. So make sure you click notification because if you don't, it'll fly right by. It's kind of like my early Christmas gift to you guys for supporting and for coming back to the channel. So let's dive into this protein bar, all right? So listen, you're gonna need about 5 ingredients. You're gonna need milk, your protein, your oatmeal, your honey, and your peanut butter. You can tell about any one of these ingredients, but you have to keep in mind doing so will change the protein level. I'm gonna have a whopping 28.5 grams of protein in each one of these bars, and we're gonna get about 8 bars out of this session. And a thermogenic additive. You know what that does? It burns fat. So we have a fat burning, high in protein bar. That's like Frankenstein, like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm creating a Frankenstein protein bar. On top of that, another thing that we're gonna have is I'm using a peanut butter that's higher in protein. That's even awesome. And you don't have to, but you still have to keep in mind changing that will change your protein levels, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and get into some of these tools that you need, or dishes. I like to call them tools because I'm trying to get to work on things. You got a plate to put your bars on. You're gonna have some mixing bowls, and I'm using mixing bowls because I like to get my ingredients into those bowls, and then I'll go ahead and pour them into the pot. It just makes for a cleaner type working surface thing. I'm like real fluent when it comes to things like that. You're gonna have a baking pan, and you're gonna have some parchment paper. Having that parchment paper is gonna allow us to hopefully get these bars up a lot easier than if we just poured them into a bare baking pan. Now, this is the other important part. We are not cooking these ingredients. We don't wanna boil. We just wanna heat them up so that we can stir them up nice and get a nice mixture and then pour them into the baking pan and let them settle. One thing I gotta let you guys know, it's my first time doing this. So you know what that means? I could screw up. And you know what that means? You learn how not to do what I did, so maybe your protein bars could turn out better. But there's a shot that I can nail it on the first time, and I've been known to do that, especially baking in the kitchen. I don't want you to tell everybody that. I guess I love baking. Screw it. Tell everybody. I bake great cakes. So I mean that's an additive. It's probably why my wife loves me. I come home with chocolates and I bake good cakes. So who gives a damn, right? So let's get into it. Let's get these ingredients into this pot so we can get some protein out of this thing, all right? All right, so we've pretty much got it here on the stove. This stuff is ready to go ahead into the baking pan, get our bars laid out, and then we wait and see how they cut. So let's switch it over. So we're gonna bring the pot over, grab our baking pan, our parchment paper, and get this mix into the pan, and then it has to sit until it kind of hardens up. So let's go ahead and get this stuff into this baking pan, and we are so many more steps closer to actually eating a great protein bar. Let's get it. All right guys, so we got our mix into the pan successfully. One key thing to keep in mind is depending on the size of your pan, I think this is like a 9 by 12 or something like that, is I tried to spread the mix to cover the entire bottom of the pan. And basically I ended up having to kind of put it back together because to me it was a little too thinned out in my opinion. And with it being thinned out, it's gonna be thin, it won't have any support when we cut it. So which means if it's a gooier type bar, it's not gonna wanna stay, it's gonna kinda, if it's a real dry and brittle bar after it sits for a little while, it's gonna be like a cracker and snap, and I don't want that. So I kinda want like in that mix. If you guys have ever had a Cliff Bar, it's like they're gooey, but they stay together. And I think this is the type of bar that's gonna be with what I'm looking at right now. Without it sitting, it looks like it's gonna end up like that. But another key thing to notice and pay attention to is your milk. That half a cup of milk might not be enough depending on the other ingredients, especially the oats and the protein. I think they kind of absorb that milk a lot. And inside of that pot, especially, I know you guys can see before I started adding a little bit more milk, it was more dry and clumped up, which is not what you want. I'm pretty sure that's not what you want, because that's just gonna be like a crumble if you guys are familiar with that. So add milk sparingly to kind of get it to start balling up and kind of not liquefy, but you want a good mushy ball and it to be firm. So what I look for as an indication when I was stirring it up in that pot is I started seeing clumps start coming together. And that was an indication to me is that I was at the point where I wanted it. So I turned the heat off, got a little bit more mix and brought it on over. Also, the spoon, make sure you have a spoon that can take the pressure. I mean, this stuff, when you're mixing it up, it gets strong. I mean, this spoon, wooden spoon, was literally yielding under pressure. This thing definitely couldn't take it. But this came in handy when I was putting the mix into the baking pan, because I was also able to shovel off the spoon the extra material that was left behind. So you don't want to waste material, so that's good. So keep those things in mind. Also keep in mind the fact that 28.5 grams of protein might be different for you if you're not using the same ingredients that I'm using. So with that being said, we have a protein bar, 28.5 grams of protein, has a thermogenic additive, and it's made to my taste. Salted caramel chocolate peanut butter. If it doesn't taste great, guess what? The benefit of making your own bar is that you can change the taste totally. Now, you might not have 28.5 grams of protein, but you should be close. Do your math, find out where you can like mix and match to get that up if that's what you want. But in all, I think we might come out like with a home run the first time up. All we're gonna see is when we cut these bars after it sits, will it hold together as a bar or will it just fall apart? Either way it goes, you learn how not to do something or you learn how to do it. I'm not gonna cut that out, so we'll see what happens. We're gonna let it sit. In the meantime, you guys subscribe, like, click notification, also share these posts. December 1st, I got something extra special coming up for you. I'm dropping a new workout routine. It's my Christmas gift to you guys as supporters and subscribers. So keep an eye out for that. Let's let this sit. Come on back and get it cut up and taste our first protein bar. Okay, so we're back. The protein bars have been sitting for roughly about, I'd say 3 hours. I got caught up with some other things, editing for other material coming out for you guys, and forgot about it just a little bit. So I'm hoping that 3 hours was definitely enough to let them cure. Depending on the ingredients that you use and some of the other things that might happen, curing time might be different. I've also seen some people use the refrigerator for curing time. So I decided to let mine just kind of air out. So we're gonna go ahead, try to cut our first protein bar. For me to feel like it was a successful venture the first time up. So 1, will the protein bar actually come out of the pan? If I can get that, cool. 2, will I actually be able to pick the protein bar up and do like this without it or just totally crumbling in my hand? And 3, will it taste decent enough for me to feel like I can at least enjoy eating it somewhat? Now, we got to keep in mind there's 28.5 grams of protein in here, so I'm going to eat this entire mixture regardless if it tastes great or not, because those are gains and gains don't go to waste. Eat right, gain right. That's my motto as well as Let's Build Together. So I got the first one pretty much cut. It's a do or die type situation. And it's also a situation where you guys get to see if I successfully managed to make protein bars or not. So let's go ahead and shake the parchment paper. Ta-da! Boom! I can even wave it. It didn't fall apart. That is successful. Right there, a protein bar made from scratch. Salted caramel, chocolate peanut butter, and 28.5 grams of protein. So I've accomplished 2 out of 3 of my requirements. Now I'm gonna bite this on camera, and if it's horrible, you'll know, and see if it's worth it. And it's worth it. I've tasted some pretty good protein bars. You see that? I'm waving it, it still didn't break. This is actually pretty good. And it's 28.5 grams of protein, excuse me. I'm actually kind of enjoying this protein bar. So listen, that is that doesn't count. Those were oats, not the bars still together. I mean, I think they came out pretty good. I think they did. I mean, I do realize something though. I mean, there's a formula to this Martha Stewart like home cooking network type stuff, but I'm just not the type to, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they cook it like 5-6 times and then they show you on a great time when they cook it, and it's awesome. But I mean, I successfully made a protein bar. If you can do better, I'd like to see it. I would definitely ask you for your recipe, but over and all, I'm gonna eat these, 28.5 grams, and they burn fat, so I'm not wasting material. I guess in the morning, I'm gonna have protein bars. Let's build together.